the savage, nightmarish murders here was Charles Manson.
Living murder all my life.
Charles Manson converted intelligent, middle-class kids into putty-like zombies.
The jury could only come to one verdict, guilty.
To explain Manson, it could not be done in words.
The most famous murder in the history of Los Angeles. Sharon Tate was a young actress, stunning even by movie star standards.
Sharon Tate. She's today's kind of girl.
3 friends were staying with her that night. The windows were open. A cool breeze was blowing.
It's simply going to be a quiet, comfortable night. And of course, it turned out not to be.
Charles Manson was a rock star wannabe and a madman.
He could literally get his followers to kill for him.
Everyone wondered, how did he turn these all-American women into monsters?
I knew that people would die. I knew that there would be killing.
He controlled them, and they did what he wanted.
They were so young.
What he wanted was murder. Brutal murder.
If it don't get done, then I'll move on it. And that's the last thing in the world you want me to do.
You're about to see what evil looks like in the face of Charles Manson.
I've never killed anyone.
Well, I'm a sound man. I'm a sound recordist, and I was working production for ABC News, and we were headed off for Corcoran Prison to interview this man. The plan was we'd set up the room, and the very last thing to do would be to send me out into the hallway to put a microphone on Charles Manson.
Come on, Charlie. Come on, Charlie. Here's it. All right. All right, easy. You're gonna call us when we're done. We'll come and get you.
And as I'm putting the microphone on, he looks me in the eye and he says, "Where are you from, boy?" And the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I said, I'm from Los Angeles, sir. And he said, Los Angeles. And I've been waiting a long time for a bus to come pick me up and take me on back.
Hello.
There was tension in the room.
Can you see yourself in there?
I can see myself in there. They don't have mirrors where I'm at.
Oh, really? So you never see yourself?
Well, yeah, they got little funny little things. You get a close look a little bit too. Beard's getting long. How are you doing?
His hands were handcuffed together, chained together, and then they were chained to his waist.
Here's the key thing to remember. This figure who walks into the room to talk to Diane Sawyer, who looks like he's been worn out and hung up wet for so long. Do not confuse that guy with the Manson of the late 60s. Footage of him from that era tells a very different story. He is commanding, he is somewhat magnetic, and really a much more malevolent force.
Manson had cut into his forehead, just above the bridge of his nose, an X. Then Charlie turns the X into a swastika.
He understood the iconography of evil, and he embraced it.
Everybody likes that evil character. They created, that guy with the eyes. You gotta realize, man, all the guys you've been creating are not really real in real life.
And you're trying to take him in, and he is presenting himself to you as he wishes.
So, are you all from New York or some guys from LA here, right?
A psychopath is born, to do wrong, I suppose, and a sociopath is transformed by his upbringing and surroundings into this person who does terrible things. So which was Manson? It almost depends on your point of view.
I just can't seem to adjust to your society because no matter what I do, it's wrong.
If I were interviewing Charlie Manson today, one of the questions I would have for Charlie, because I'm fascinated how he ended up like he did, was start at the beginning, Charlie. Tell me what happened as a kid.
Welcome 1934. Roosevelt was 9 months into his presidency. Unemployment was still high, depression still deep. But a newsreel of the time reflected...
Charles Manson was born on November 11th, 1934. He just turned 82 on his last birthday.
His mother, Kathleen, gave birth to him when she was 15. His father was a man who left soon afterward.
I am a street child. I'm a runaway little girl at 15 years old out of Kentucky named Kathleen Maddox. And she went to Cincinnati, had a guy named Charlie Manson.
When he's 4 and a half, his mother and his uncle are sent to prison for a botched attempt at armed robbery.
And she went to prison, and I used to visit her in the prison visiting room. The only thing my mother taught me was that everything she said was a lie. And I learned never to believe anyone about anything.
There's a boy in class Charlie doesn't like. And at recess, a bunch of the girls jump this boy and beat him up. The principal steps in. And the girls say, well, Charlie told us to do it. Manson's defense, 6 years old. It wasn't me. They were doing what they wanted to do. You can't blame me for what other people do.
Incidents that took place basically had nothing to do with me personally.
By the time he's 13, he's involved in auto theft and armed robbery, and the judge sends Charlie to Boys Town.
Boys Town is real.
He ran in the Indianapolis Star. The idea that, we have young people who get in trouble, but we have kind judges who will send them to places where they can learn to become productive members of society. Charlie lasted 4 days, and he and somebody stole a car and set out, and they got all the way to Utah before they were captured. Charlie was a con artist even as a child.
1944, I went to juvenile hall. I didn't get out till 1954. I turned 21 years old in the LA County Jail. I wasn't out but a hot second. I've been in jail all my life.
But while he's in prison, he hears the Beatles. And the Beatles, you have to remember, 1964, late 64, 65, suddenly they are everywhere. They are permeating our culture.
3,000 screaming teenagers are at New York's Kennedy Airport to greet, you guessed it, the Beatles.
And they come to represent to Charlie Manson what he wants most. Fame, power, women throwing themselves at all the money you could imagine.
Maybe because he knew what was going on out there, he picked up a little guitar and he started to play and to write some of his own songs in prison. There's certainly evidence that he picked up quite a few skills, you might say, in prison.
He learned from the pimps. He learned from Dale Carnegie classes.
Remember, if you want to be liked instantly, do as a puppy does. Become genuinely interested in other people and show it.
He learned from the Scientologists.
Scientology means knowledge or truth, study of.
Manson used his time in prison to prepare himself to thrive as a criminal after his release.
See, I never realized that people outside are much different than the people inside. People inside, if you lie, you get punched. And when I got out, all your children would come to me because they never had anybody tell them the truth.
At the last minute, when Manson learns he's going to be paroled, he actually tells the authorities, don't let me go, I don't think I can handle it out there. But it's too late, prisons are overcrowded, and so they send him out anyway. But that one moment, he's being honest. If you let me out, I think I'm going to do the same things that I've been doing or even more.
The city of Los Angeles has had another multiple murder.
Stabbed to death.
Another bizarre murder.
Murders
Their
without
axe
reason.
brutally cut by a
Charles Manson, the cult leader accused of murder.
Wish they'd listen to him.
There is nothing more important to me than my vacation. So when I need to book a hotel room, I want someone that makes it easy to find what I want. Booking.com gets it. They offer free cancellation in case I decide to go from kid-friendly to kid-free. Now I can start relaxing even before the vacation begins.
Your vacation is very important. That's why Booking.com makes finding the right hotel for the right price easy. Visit Booking.com now to find out why we're Booking. Yeah. The moment you realize of a one-person vanity, but a four-person family.
At Lowe's, we have the latest styles and trends to fit your budget. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's.
Hurry into the Lowe's Kitchen and Bath event for up to 40% off.
A month of madness. At Outback, here's our 3-point shot. 1, take our bloomin' onion. 2, cover it with Aussie cheese fries. 3, top it off with our center-cut sirloin. The 3-point bloomin' onion. Over $25 worth for just $12.99. Hurry in, it's for March only.
My laptop has the nastiest virus and I'm terrified.
Yeah, that is scary. You know, an iPad Pro doesn't get PC viruses. So relax. There's nothing to be afraid of. Except ghosts!
Oh, remember.
So you guys are empty nesters, huh?
Now that the kids have flown the coop, this place is too big.
We've raised them from eggs. What do you say we get cracking? And try apartments.com. With custom search features and the most listings, it's easy to downsize. Oh, how about Florida? The kids will love it.
It's Jacob. Hello? We miss you.
Change your apartment. Change the world.
I really enjoyed last night.
The room was killed.
Right.
ABC Sunday. He traveled across time and found her.
I forget you're from 1893.
Together, they'll hunt the most dangerous man of all time.
Because there's only one Jack the Ripper.
The ultimate date with destiny.
It's not fair. Well, fair with excitement, but I'm ready. Let's do this.
New Time After Time, Sunday on ABC.
Let's go!
You hire undocumented workers?
7.
Go ahead. Call the police.
You tell me that felt right to you. Taking money for sex. You are out there every single day swimming through the worst of the worst. Rwanda to help kids in need. Those people are our responsibility.
New American Crime, Sunday 10/9 Central on ABC.
The Summer of Love. You didn't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind was blowing when an estimated 10,000 hippies and hangers-on showed up for the concert in the Panhandle section of Golden Gate Park.
To understand how Manson did what he did, we have to understand the context of the time and place.
Demonstrators took to the streets.
A time in American history, you've got Vietnam, you've got race riots.
6 days of rioting in the Negro section of Los Angeles.
It seemed anything was possible, both wonderful and terrible.
If You're Going to San Francisco becomes a huge hit. And what it is an advertisement for the Summer of Love in San Francisco.
By the end of the Summer of Love, 75,000 people, they are descending on Haight-Ashbury, yet everybody's got there because of this belief. We're going to change the world. And this draws a lot of broken kids from all across America. And here's Charles Manson, the ultimate predator.
And so just as Manson is released from prison in California, the movement is like a magnet for all these people whose particular characteristics make them highly vulnerable to the thing that Manson has, the ability to manipulate.
People tend to think that only oddballs ended up following Manson, and that's not true. Leslie Van Houten's a great example.
And so she got wrapped up into that. And evidently this whole situation was love to begin with, but it didn't end up that way.
You know,
Diane Sawyer talks to Manson's ex-followers.
he
was the...
And in these extraordinary interviews, they attempt to describe how their middle-class personalities were overtaken by Manson's charisma.
Leslie in high school, very bright. She's gorgeous. All the boys love her. She plays baritone sax in the marching band, for gosh sakes.
Leslie Van Houten is an example of how people can be very normal, but all of us have vulnerabilities, and Manson could smell it.
I seem to want more living out of life than what was expected of young girls at that time. Drugs, sex, breaking away from the norm.
Leslie Van Houten's father moved out. She lost her way after that.
I think that when my father left, I was desperately seeking someone that I could love and hold on to and call my own.
Charlie Manson would always tell her little puzzles to try to work out. So he would say, you can figure this out. You're smart. He always finds the way to make the other person feel loved, appreciated.
He was like Christ, and he had the answers. For as twisted as it all got, I really think that I felt that I had met someone that, by being around him, would have a positive change.
I don't think anyone ever joined the Manson family who completely were self-confident. He could always find a way in. Manson met Patricia Krenwinkel when she was staying with his sister who had problems. Manson said to Pat, you should come away with me. You're so ugly, and I'm ugly. We're the only two people who'll tell each other we're beautiful.
That night, we slept together, and when we made love, all I remember is just crying and crying to this man, because he said, oh, you're beautiful. I couldn't believe that. I just started crying.
Pat Krenwinkel basically left with Charlie Manson the next day, and Pat firmly believed that she was going to leave with Charlie and he was going to be her new boyfriend. Imagine her shock when she found out she was only part of a harem and would have to share him.
He had great confidence in his own sexual prowess.
And what they really liked about me, you want to really hear it?
Yeah.
Real good.
So he'd break people down, build them back up in his image, and they would become essentially fingers on his hand, subject to his every direction.
These kids were putty in his hands.
It didn't happen overnight. He spent a lot of time taking middle-class girls and remolding them. I was an empty shell of a person that was filled up with Manson rhetoric.
It wasn't so strange in 1967 to drive a bus, to give up all your clothes, and going around and talk peace. A lot of times where you might have had someone say, don't you think what you're doing is odd? Instead, we were always in places where people were saying, wow, can I join you?
The posse gets bigger and bigger, and eventually they all pile in that bus and they drive down to Los Angeles from San Francisco, where they settle at Spahn Ranch.
The Spahn Movie Ranch, which is in the northwest part of LA.
All the cowboy shows from the 50s and early 60s were shot there. The saloon, the hotel, the dusty Main Street.
Manson and his family just moved in there, and that became their base of operation.
For Manson, like any demagogue, if you're trying to take followers and make them buy into your reality as opposed to anybody else's, you want to get them isolated. You want to get them away from outside influence.
I was cutting off my past, and in my own brain, it was like, I can't go back.
You could absolutely not talk about your past at all.
And one thing we didn't have is watches. The whole idea was to let time disappear. There was no time.
We gave up our birthdays.
Squeaky Fromm was another young girl with parental issues. Charlie found her weeping on a bench outside Venice, California one day. Introduced himself as the man who's called the gardener because he tends to all the little flowers that hate Ashbury, and that she should come with him, and she did.
And I kept thinking, this is fate, because he's exactly what I was looking for.
And love is infinitely strong and infinitely mad.
erratic and crazy.
People have described her to me as, among all Charlie's followers, the greatest true believer.
She's a little more of a performer maybe than the other people in the family.
You have to make love with it.
She's very verbal. She has a certain childlike quality that kind of endears you to her until you listen to what's coming out of her mouth.
So that you could pick it up any second and shoot.
People who met him wanted to be like him. Men, especially, wanted to have that kind of charisma. So they would do the things that he did, but they didn't do them with the same spirit.
Drugs were always an important part of Charlie's appeal. In those days, the enlightened culture was using drugs. You honestly believe that smoking marijuana, taking LSD, would open up your consciousness?
I was smoking a lot of marijuana hash, and I had, at that time, I've already used acid a couple times. But at that time, drinking and using drugs did not seem unusual because I was doing it with my high school friends.
Charlie would use LSD for his special ceremonies on a daily basis where he would preach to people towards the end of the day.
Well, we took hundreds of trips together.
He would personally put the dosages in his followers' mouths. But when he took some himself, he was careful to take less so he'd stay in control. Sometimes he'd claim he was Jesus Christ, come again. He even would take up positions as though he was being crucified.
Sometimes he would reenact the crucifixion when we were on LSD. And it was very realistic. And then make the connections of man, son of man, you know. And then the questions would begin. Would you die for me?
And in their drug-induced situation, they listened. So he used LSD as a form of mind control.
There was at times basically group sex, but it was always very planned because it was a means of control. When he'd have different men that he was trying to initiate into the family, try to bring them in, he would offer them whatever women he had.
Isn't that what women's for? Women receive men and reflect men. Man hold dominion up over woman. It's been that way since we grunted and we came out of caves.
If a man wanted you, you went with him. You couldn't resist.
I mean, he was an excellent pimp.
Manson deliberately sent out the women in the family to go around and troll for famous musicians. They were the bait. That's how Charlie meant to use them.
He thinks he's going to be a singer-songwriter like Bob Dylan or like Neil Young. And what he finds is something very different and something that fuels his anger towards society.
It's gonna be explosive. Dancing premieres live Monday on ABC.
Sharon was given a few months to live if her cancer wasn't treated.
I was diagnosed with advanced non-small cell lung cancer, which I thought meant chemo. But a biomarker test showed I had high levels of Pt.1, which meant I could start with a different treatment.
1 year later, she's here with her family. A true story with Keytruda.
On Keytruda, my scans started showing good news.
In a clinical study, Keytruda offered patients a longer life than chemotherapy, and with high levels of PD-L1, it could be your first treatment instead of chemotherapy. Keytruda is for adults with non-small cell lung cancer that has spread, who test positive for PD-L1, and whose tumors do not have an abnormal EGFR or ALK-G. Keytruda helps your immune system fight cancer. Keytruda can cause your immune system to attack normal organs and tissues in your body and affect how they work, and may be serious and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you experience new or worsening cough, chest pain, shortness of breath, diarrhea, severe stomach pain or tenderness, nausea or vomiting, rapid heartbeat, increased hunger or thirst, constipation, dizziness or fainting, changes in urine, changes in eyesight, muscle pain or weakness, joint pain, rash, itching or flushing, as this may keep these problems from becoming more serious. These are not all the possible side effects of Keytruda. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including immune system problems, or if you've had an organ transplant or lung, breathing, or liver problems.
Each day now, it's a gift.
A chance for a longer life. It's true. Keytruda from Merck. Ask your doctor about Keytruda.
Discover Italy's lighter side at Olive Garden with new Taste of the Mediterranean. Recipes that put a fresh spin on traditional Italian, made with simple, wholesome ingredients, inspired by Italy's Mediterranean coast. Indulge in Italy's lighter side at Olive Garden.
The dry skin culprit no one's talking about? A damaged moisture barrier.
New Moisture Balm from Garnier Skin Active. Active because Moisture Balm with antioxidant-rich goji berry and pomegranate strengthens skin's moisture barrier and floods skin with a burst of long-lasting hydration.
To keep hydration where it belongs, in my skin. Stronger moisture barrier and healthier looking skin.
New Moisture Balm from Garnier Skin Active, the active way to healthier looking skin.
There are way too many things on my desk.
You know, iPad Pro can replace a scanner, pad of paper, and laptop, so you can get rid of that old stuff.
Yeah, but I'm not getting rid of this.
Nobody said you had to.
Good! We're best friends!
Cavs, Clippers, tomorrow on ABC.
How's that new $79.99 FiOS deal working out for you?
Deal? You pay for everything that's missing. We had to choose between my sports and her shows. Not good.
Don't be fooled by the FiOS deal that comes with a custom TV package and makes you choose between 2 different lineups. Unless you want to pay more.
I like my shows and sports. They're wired differently, all right.
Switch to Spectrum and get our best deal ever on TV, internet, and voice. Call today. Why are we making such a big deal? Because everything's on sale at Raymore and Flanagan. Save 24% on this elegant platform bed, 33% on this classic sofa, get 50% off mattress closeouts. Queen adjustable bases start at $5.99. No interest for 72 months, 3-day delivery now, 7 days a week. Only at Raymore and Flanagan.
In Los Angeles, especially in places like Laurel Canyon, is an incredibly exciting time musically. You have Joni Mitchell up there doing Ladies of the Canyon in 1969. You have The Doors. Neil Young's here. You've got Jackson Browne is here. Glenn Frey. Genuinely really talented people who will make music that we'll listen to for the next 50 years.
If you wanted to be a rock and roll star, you had to come to Los Angeles. Manson's goal in life, his obsession, was to become a bigger rock star than the Beatles.
That's why he comes to Los Angeles. At this particular moment in the entertainment community, you had an open door policy. Musicians, their addresses were really well known around those times. People would come down from their bedrooms and there'd be 3 or 4 people waiting to get a recording deal. And you weren't supposed to call the cops.
He was convinced he would acquire a patron among all the rock stars who lived in LA.
So Manson would send some of the women out to places where famous musicians lived to try and make some sort of connection.
And one day, 2 of the women in the family, Patricia Krenwinkel and a woman called Yeller, are hitchhiking, and fancy car pulls up beside them. And it's Dennis Wilson, the drummer of the Beach Boys.
If everybody had a news. The Beach Boys were fantastically talented with that classic Los Angeles sound. Dennis Wilson was the sexy Beach Boy. There was no doubt about it. Couldn't play drums that well, but my gosh, he looked like a rock star.
He picks up 2 girls, 2 Manson family members. He takes them back to his house, and he goes off to a recording studio to work. He gets back late that night, and Manson has moved into his mansion, along with several other family members.
He came home one night, and he told me that Charlie and the girls were kind of invited themselves over and stayed for a while.
One of the Manson girls talks about being at Dennis Wilson's house, walking around with the family members around Dennis Wilson's pool on a beautiful Southern California afternoon. The girls are topless, joints are being passed. It just sounded so blissful, and that was the 60s.
Always party time.
Dennis really liked women. Dennis appears to have liked women pretty much indiscriminately.
You know, initially for Dennis Wilson, it was great. It was girls, drugs, and Manson could supply both.
We were invited by Dennis to come to dinner to meet Charlie and the family. There were in a group sex kind of situation, and it wasn't my cup of tea, so I excused myself to take a shower. No sooner than I got in the shower, door opened, and Charlie Manson stood there and looked up at me and said, "You can't do that." I said, "Excuse me?" "You can't leave the group." And he looked at me with these wide eyes and kind of maniacal look. One of your group members is involved with something so weird. It was kind of frightening and freaky to me.
Dennis Wilson loved having the Manson family with him for a while. He thought Manson was a great intellect. He nicknamed him the Wizard.
He was definitely under Charlie's influence at that point in time.
Because Charlie could talk such metaphysical mush, Dale Carnegie, the Bible, and homing in on Dennis's insecurities about his own talent. Dennis was intimidated by the other Beach Boys. He's low man on the totem pole in the group. Charlie builds him up. "You're great. Your music is exceptional." And little did Dennis know that once Charlie got his hooks into you, he didn't let go. He was the perfect target.
He paid for a lot of things, like food and transportation and medication.
The months that the Manson family stayed with him cost him over $100,000.
And living with Dennis Wilson had other benefits because Manson got to meet other people in the music business, rock stars.
Oddly enough, the one he seemed to impress most was Neil Young.
I knew Charlie Manson.
Neil Young talked about his encounter with Manson in a BBC documentary.
He wasn't what you call a songwriter. He was like a song spewer.
It is astonishing to think that Neil Young took an interest in the music of Charles Manson.
He's good. It was just a little out of control.
For a few months, Dennis Wilson thought Charles Manson was a music genius. He wrote a song called "Cease to Exist."
Cease to exist. Just come and say you love me.
Dennis Wilson brought that song, "Cease to Exist," to the Beach Boys, only he renamed it, gave it some new lyrics.
It was called Never Learn Not to Love, and we actually recorded that song. I wasn't told about the origins of the song. As far as I knew, Dennis had written
Never Learned Not to Love, the Beach Boys.
I remember Mike Douglas. I remember doing a show.
I'm your kind, and I
The
see.
squeaky clean Beach Boys are singing a song written by Charles Manson on a Mike Douglas show.
Never learned not to love you.
In light of what happened, boggles the mind. And when it appears on the album, it's credited only to Dennis Wilson.
Manson was furious when he found out that Dennis Wilson had not only changed the lyrics, but had listed himself as the sole composer. When Manson goes looking for Wilson afterwards and at one point leaves a bullet and tells Wilson that "I know where you live, I know where your children are, you know what this means."
I gave Dennis Wilson a bullet, didn't I? I gave him a bullet because he changed the words to my song.
Dennis Wilson was so terrified ultimately of Charlie Manson that he ran from him. With anybody else, Manson would have physically attacked him. But he has to live with it. He has to swallow it. Only because Manson still needed Wilson's best friend, Terry Melcher.
Terry Melcher was the son of Doris Day, the famous movie star and singer. He was living on Cielo Drive in Benedict Canyon.
Terry Melcher is a genius at recognizing how to get marketable hit music.
He would produce the Byrds version of the Mr. Tambourine Man. Turn, Turn, Turn.
He have over 80 hit singles within a few years.
A significant force who could, on his say-so, have signed Charles Manson to a record contract.
So this makes Manson all the more determined, whatever it takes. He is going to make Terry Melcher his friend, and Terry Melcher will love it. Manson never ever considered the fact that maybe he wasn't going to be good enough. Manson pursues Terry Melcher for months.
Unlike people like Dennis Wilson, Melcher was a child of Hollywood.
He learns from childhood how to keep people at arm's length. You don't let everybody in. Manson once, riding around with Melcher and Wilson, they actually drive up Cielo Drive to Melcher's home. But Melcher does not invite them in. And that frustrates Manson.
Terry Melcher, on the other hand, did take an interest in finding out about Manson's music.
He finally gets Melcher to listen to his music.
He records Manson at the Spahn Ranch, and Melcher talked about that visit to BBC Radio 1.
I arrived and met a bunch of people. They all sat down and they played a dozen songs. It was a big campfire. And it was, it was quite an interesting thing.
Manson tells the family that Melcher has promised him a recording contract.
And then Melcher had second thoughts, didn't think Manson was talented enough.
He tells Manson, your music is good, but I wouldn't know what to do with you. And at that moment, Charlie Manson's life turns completely.
Manson was furious because he did wrong. He lied. When you make a contract, what does a contract mean to you? When you make a contract, you keep your word or you lose your life.
The dream of being a rock star is not going to happen. For Manson, the house on Cielo Drive comes to represent all he wants to achieve and hasn't been able to.
That is where he will exact his revenge.
I love you, basement guest bathroom. Your privacy makes you my #1 place. To go #2. I love you, but sometimes you stink. New Febreze Air Effects with odor clear technology cleans away odors like never before. Because the things you love the most can stink. And try Febreze small spaces to clean away odors for up to 30 days. Breathe happy with New Febreze.
This is everything. Honey Bunches of Oats. It's crispy sweetened flakes, plus whole grain, plus crunchy granola clusters, plus a touch of honey. It's like adding up awesome. Plus #awesomeness. Plus, aw yeah. It's the sum of the best in a cereal. However you say it, this is everything. And now we're adding one more thing. New Honey Bunches of Oats pecan and maple brown sugar.
Get up and get down at Cricket Wireless, where plans start at only $30 a month and more 4G LTE coverage than T-Mobile or Sprint. Plus, when you switch now, you can get a brand new smartphone for free. Cricket Wireless, something to smile about.
Nobody likes a dog with bad breath. That's why there's Oravet dental hygiene chews. Oravet cleans teeth and gets to the cause of bad breath. Ask your vet about Oravet chews. Serious oral care made simple.
Working hard to lower your LDL bad cholesterol? Not making enough progress? You eat well, take the highest dose statin you can, but still aren't getting where you need to be? Now there's Repatha, a different way to reduce LDL and get on the path to dramatically lower numbers. Repatha works differently than your statin to help clear LDL. Repatha plus the highest dose statin drove down LDL an average of 71% more than a statin alone.
Do not take Repatha if you are allergic to it. Repatha may cause allergic reactions. Signs include redness, severe rash or itching, swollen face, or trouble breathing. The most common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
Added to a highest dose statin, Repatha lowered LDL below 70 for up to 90% of people. Ask if Repatha can get you on the path to way lower LDL.
All the moon belongs to everyone. Best things in life, they're free. Stars belong to everyone. Best things in life, they're free.
Why is Tiger Woods coming to GMA Monday? You'll want to see this. Tiger, exclusive with Michael Strahan. Monday only on ABC's Good Morning America.
Monday, the FBI chief's day in the hot seat. His testimony about the Russia investigation and meddling in the presidential election. Has he found any proof of President Trump's wiretapping claims? This is where America turns for answers. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir.
Monday, you're gonna love the new stars of dancing. Mr. T, Charo, Rashad Jennings, Heather Morris, David Ross, Connor Bolton, Nancy Kerrigan, Normani Corday, Erica Jane, Chris Kattan, Simone Biles, and Nick Viall. This season, dance with somebody you love. Dancing with the Stars premieres live Monday on ABC.
By early '69, Terry Melcher, this big record guy in Los Angeles, who's humiliated Charles Manson by not signing him to a record deal, moves out of his house on Cielo Drive. And moving in instead is this glamorous young starlet and her filmmaker husband. And neither of them have any idea of the place in his murderous heart that Charles Manson now has for their new address.
Nobody took my breath away like Sharon Tate.
She's gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous. You don't have to have credits. You don't have to have worked your way up. This is Hollywood. Beauty needs no resume.
Hello. I'm Mr. Ed.
Here's the thing about being in Mr. Ed. You're on a show with a talking horse, and you're the girl. Well, you know, that's how everybody broke in. Sharon Tate is in these shows because she is highly decorative. That doesn't mean that was all she was going to be. That meant that that was her foot in the door.
I first met Sharon, I didn't know who she was at all. She was signed to Filmways, which is the same company that did the Beverly Hillbillies.
Howdy. Well, howdy to you. You're Jethro, aren't you?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
The idea was to get Sharon used to being on a set with a camera, talking to people.
They put the dark wig on, and most people didn't even know it was her.
They wanted her not to look like what she looked like. And that strikes us as being counterintuitive now. But the idea then was that a movie actor was something special, was somebody who would never be caught dead on television. Every time she met the press, she would be very honest and say, I'm just getting started.
Being in front of the camera and going to classes are two different worlds. Entirely.
She was not a huge success at that point. She was an up-and-coming starlet.
I don't like that word starlet at all because there's no such thing, actually. I feel that before you even make an appearance, it's very necessary to learn your craft.
At the MGM studios in London, Sharon Tate is reporting for her first motion picture, Eye of the Devil.
All Eyes on Sharon Tate is essentially a press kit. It's carefully crafted publicity, and we see Sharon studying her lines and getting vocal instruction and all these things that make her look like a hardworking actor. When you look at that 10 minutes, and the footage you can't forget is her on the dance floor. Because she is magic.
Her name is Sharon Tate. She's today's kind of girl, bursting with youth, beauty, vitality.
She was, to a large extent, very insecure. She knew that a lot of her roles were gotten because of her looks. She knew her limitations as an actress. I mean, she really did. I mean, she once said, I'll never be doing Shakespeare.
I can't see myself doing Shakespeare or anything like that. I would love black comedy.
We're on the set of the picture, The Vampire Killers, being made at the MGM studios outside of London. And the whole idea comes from the brain of this gentleman named Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski was and is a great filmmaker. They didn't hit it off at first. They seem to have hit it off quite well afterwards. By the time the movie is over, they're in love.
Gotta get up, gonna get.
If you were just an average moviegoer in the 1960s, the first time you heard her name was with Valley of the Dolls.
Mother, I know I don't have any talent, and I know all I have is a body, and I am doing my best exercises.
Valley of the Dolls, the novel by Jacqueline Suzanne, is one of the biggest selling novels of all time. It is like the ultimate beach read of that era. The movie, well...
I am interested in a young lady with your how do you say?
Measurements.
It was perfect camp.
And honey, let's face it,
I know how to do is take off my clothes.
She had a purity. She had a quietness. She had a real yearning to have a baby.
I'm pregnant.
Which was the core of the part that she was playing.
Valley of the Dolls is Sharon Tate's coming out party.
Sharon Tate, star of the film Valley of the Dolls, marries film director Roman Polanski.
So when she gets married and they call it the wedding of the doll, that's a reference to the fact that she became famous for being in this movie.
I was her California hairdresser, and I helped her shop for the flowers and the bows. The after-party Playboy Club was probably one of the parties of the century. Everybody was there.
Among them, Michael Caine and Candice Bergen. Joan Collins with Anthony Newley. Sharon Tate's co-star, Barbara Parkins, taking time off from Peyton Place.
It was stellar.
After that, she goes on to be in a Matt Helm movie.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I hurt you?
Of course you hurt me.
My father was doing The Wrecking Crew, which were those fabulous Matt Helm movies, which were always fun to watch him when we'd go down to the studio to watch him do it. He thought Sharon Tate was gorgeous, funny, smart, and he looked forward to maybe recreating her role again in the next movie.
Things were going to be good. Sharon Tate has married one of the top young filmmakers in Hollywood at that time, Roman Polanski, who has a huge success with Rosemary's Baby. She and Polanski are going to have a baby.
So many plans for the future. We were hoping for a boy, and I say we because I come from a long line of girls.
And the symbol of this kind of idyllic success that they're enjoying in Hollywood is this house, which they're renting. It seems like a place where only love and happiness can be found. And that's what the end of 1968 looks like.
Say hello to AT&T's best unlimited data deal ever. It's a total game changer. So now, the whole family can binge, surf, shop, navigate, listen, game, stream, and more. All without the hassle of worrying about overages or running out of data. It's less than $40 per line per month with 4 lines. And remember, it's AT&T's best unlimited data deal ever. So get AT&T, get unlimited, and get everyone more for less.
Okay, that's a one-piece breast, $5. Pie pie, costs you $5. That's a famous bowl, 5 bills. Tenders for a $5, and that's my 2-piece original recipe, also $5. That's 5 real meals, each for $5. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Allergy sufferers, a word to the wise. If symptoms at night ruin your next day, try new Zysol. It relieves symptoms while you sleep and keeps relieving all day. Because Zysol's as effective at hour 24 as at hour 1. So, be Wisol. Take new Zysol.
Good is in every Blue Diamond almond. And once good gets going, there's no stopping it. Blue Diamond almonds. Get your good going.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin around your neck, cherie, and we provide the rest. And a dinner here is never second best.
To celebrate Disney's Beauty and the Beast, HomeAway is giving away a stay at Dunn's Castle. Enter at HomeAway. See Disney's Beauty and the Beast in theaters March 17th.
Nobody likes a dog with bad breath. That's why there's Oravet Dental Hygiene Chews. Oravet cleans teeth and gets to the cause of bad breath. Ask your vet about Oravet Chews. Serious oral care made simple.
We're in a race against the clock. The country's going to wake up to the news that their vice president was murdered. What's the best thing about the shooting?
Speculation's everywhere.
We need to contain this now before paranoia takes over. You just jeopardized national security.
Actually, you did.
I want to know who's leaking classified information. So are you asking me to step aside?
All new Designated Survivor, Wednesday, 10, 9 Central on ABC.
I'm Bill Ritter at 11. Get ready for more snow. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg times out what it means for your weekend. Disturbing new details on the man charged with running over and killing an EMT. And the growing push to make the fearless girl statue on Wall Street permanent.
I can stay. I'm good.
I won't be late.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
No kissing on the first date, all right?
Life doesn't always stick to a plan, but with our investment expertise, we'll help you handle what's next. Financial guidance while you're mastering life. From Chase, so you can.
So I want my glasses to be unique. My girlfriend loves artists. And I need a conservative pair because her parents hate artists.
Get up to 40% off a second pair of glasses. Schedule your eye exam at pearlvision.com.
Wow, that's a Chevy.
The most awarded lineup in the industry has people at a loss for words. Well, almost.
Oh, wow. The pedals here?
Are
you kidding me? I could go test drive one right now. Wow. This is it. Oh, wow.
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 Experience the wow factor. Take home an award-winning Chevy today. Current qualified competitive lessees can get this Chevy Malibu for around $199 a month. Visit your local Chevy dealer.
In the Hollywood Hills, the Cielo House had a number of well-known owners and residents over the years. It had been photographed for an architectural glossy.
And it was a French farmhouse.
The grounds were beautiful. It was serene. The views were amazing because it was off of Benedict Canyon.
You'll never find another view like it. I don't care where you go in the city. It was from all the way downtown to the beach to Catalina.
It was the most safe and secure and secluded and peaceful environment she could possibly think of to start her family.
They came up and looked at the property, and I met Sharon, and it was magical. She was a lovely lady.
For Sharon, for so many years it had been all about her acting career. But the moment she found out she was pregnant, her acting career just didn't matter to her at all. Everything that mattered was for the baby.
As we approach August 1969, Polanski is in London prepping a movie that Mike Nichols would go on to direct called The Day of the Dolphin.
Sharon Tate and her friends were at the house she had rented. She was massively pregnant. She was about to deliver her baby. And her husband was out of the country, so they had come to keep her company and make sure she was okay.
She was there with her friends Abigail Folger and Wojtek Frykowski and her one-time boyfriend and now friend, Jay Sebring.
Hi, my name is Jay Sebring, and I'm 35 years old.
He was a sharp, charismatic person.
Will are you? Jay Sebring, please stand up.
He was the creator of men's hair design.
He wasn't a barber. He was styling men's hair.
Single-handedly defined the iconic look of nearly every male recording and film star.
They wouldn't work without him.
Sammy Davis, Jim Morrison, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, Warren Beatty, Frank Sinatra.
One of Hollywood's indestructibles, Henry Fonda, is in once a week while making a picture.
I mean, he was defining culture.
This is like an evolution from a barber. Do you understand? Like the guy with the little pole in front, all of a sudden it was like on the cover of Time. Sharon came back into my salon and brought a new client she wanted me to do. And her name was Abigail Folger.
Folger's coffee? Yeah.
The last name, of course, is familiar because she was an heir to the Folger coffee fortune.
Hey, this coffee tastes terrific.
Folger.
But she herself was working as a social worker.
Abigail was a little bit of a recluse. She always had her nose buried in a book.
She wasn't as open and generous in conversation as Sharon, a bit more reserved. Wojciech was her boyfriend.
Wojciech Frykowski was a childhood friend of Roman Polanski. They go out at one point that evening to a restaurant.
restaurant to get some food because she doesn't feel like cooking.
They're all staying at the house. They go out to dinner at El Coyote, which is a place everyone in the history of Los Angeles has eaten at.
We know that they are back in the house by 10 o'clock because Abigail Folger's mother calls and talks to Abigail at that time. It's simply going to be a quiet, comfortable night. And of course, it turned out not to be.
Because that's the night Charles Manson has dispatched some of his most slavishly devoted followers to go to that house and kill everyone inside, whoever they are.
Tex Watson will become a key figure as the events of August in 1969 take place. Watson is there at every key moment. These murders are unimaginable without Watson leading the way.
Charles Manson did what many cult leaders have done historically, taking someone into something very bad, but by baby steps, never allowing them to see where it was that he was really taking them in the end, which was murder.
There is a late-night visitor. He is the most unlucky man in the history of Los Angeles. He is a young boy who is selling a clock radio. And his are the first headlights that come up that driveway. And it's when he leaves that the nightmare begins. And his death will set off the most famous murder in the history of Los Angeles.
Infallible Total Cover from L'Oreal. Full coverage foundation, super lightweight. Pro formula really lasts. But if forever doesn't last forever, just cover and conceal. New Infallible Total Cover from L'Oreal Paris.
Introducing Tidy Cats Lightweight with Glade Clean Blossoms. Our newest odor-fighting scent gives you the power of choice, plus the power of pleasant. Exclusively in lightweight. Every home, every cat. There's a Tidy Cats for that.
Oh, yes. We should put this on the mantle.
Or in a box.
Out with the old. In with the better. Make room for your new Hyundai. The spring cleaning sales event is here, and it's time to save. Better is the reason to buy Hyundai. And this is the reason to buy now. Get 0.9% APR for up to 60 months, or up to $3,500 total savings on a new Santa Fe Sport.
Where's Frank? It's league night.
Save money on motorcycle insurance with Geico going up the country, ball without me. Frank.
I'm going to get nachos.
Snack bar's closed. Geico Motorcycle. Great rates for great rides.
If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis like me,